Kharg Island, a small, crescent-shaped piece of land in the northern Persian Gulf, roughly 25 kilometers off the Iranian coast. On most maps, it barely registers. On the map of the global oil trade, it is one of the most important pieces of land on Earth. Roughly 90% of Iran's crude oil exports pass through its terminals. For 40 years, American policy has treated this island as a strategic target. In April of this year, American forces finally struck it directly, hitting dozens of targets in a single night. President Trump publicly considered seizing the island outright. Every major news outlet covered the strikes. Almost nobody covered what happened next. Within days of the ceasefire, oil was flowing through Kharg Island again, but not under the old system, not under any system the United States recognizes. Tankers are now paying transit fees directly to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in cryptocurrency and Chinese yuan. The toll is roughly $1 per barrel. At typical tanker capacity, that is $2 million per vessel. At 2024 flow levels, that is $30 to $40 million every day. Annualized, it is between $11 and $14 billion. Enough to fund Iran's reconstruction, enough to rebuild its missile stockpiles, enough to absorb the entire cost of the war within 18 months. This video is about the mechanism that moves that money, how a bombed island on a sanctioned coastline has become the anchor of what may be the most profitable toll system in the world, and why no sanctions instrument Washington has ever built can actually stop it. To understand the mechanism, start with why Kharg Island cannot be replaced, and why it is irreplaceable. Iran has other ports on its southern coast, Bandar Abbas, Asaluya, Bandar Mashar. None of them have what Kharg has. Kharg has 10 large tanker berths built to handle fully loaded, very large crude carriers. It has storage capacity for roughly 20 million barrels on the island itself. Its pipeline connections to the Iranian mainland run along the shallow Persian Gulf shelf, engineered in the 1970s and rebuilt after the tanker war of the late 1980s with specifications that cannot be quickly duplicated elsewhere. To move 90% of Iran's oil through any other port would require at least a decade of construction and tens of billions of dollars of investment. Iran does not have the capital, Iran does not have the engineering partners, and as long as the terminals at Kharg remain operational, it does not need them. This is why the American strikes in April did not end the war economically. The American operation hit military targets on Kharg, radar installations, air defense batteries, IRGC command posts. It did not hit the oil terminals themselves. Destroying civilian oil infrastructure would have crossed a threshold that neither Washington nor Tel Aviv were willing to cross, because the resulting global oil price shock would have collapsed markets from London to Tokyo. The oil terminals survived, which means Iran's export capacity survived, which means the only thing that changed was who controls the flow. The new toll system is where the story gets interesting. Before the war, Iranian oil moved through a complex web of sanctions-evading intermediaries, shell companies registered in the Marshall Islands, discounted sales to Chinese independent refiners, so-called teapots, ship-to-ship transfers in international waters. The system worked, but it was expensive. The discount Iran had to offer buyers, sometimes 20 to 30% below Brent crude, functioned as an invisible tax on every barrel. Sanctions worked not by stopping the oil, but by forcing Iran to sell it at a loss. The new system collapses that discount. Under the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps managed toll corridor, transit through the Strait of Hormuz now requires prior coordination and direct payment to an Iranian entity. Payment in dollars is not an option. Payment in euros is not an option. The accepted currencies are Bitcoin, Tether, and Chinese yuan. These are not payments to a government bank account that American regulators can freeze. They are payments to wallet addresses and to Chinese domestic clearing accounts that the American financial system simply cannot reach. Think carefully about what this means. For 40 years, United States sanctions policy has rested on a single mechanism. The United States does not police trade directly. It polices the payment rails. Almost every major international oil transaction ultimately clears through a bank that has correspondent relationships with American banks, which gives Washington the power to freeze, trace, and punish. That mechanism only works if the transaction touches the American financial system. Bitcoin payments do not touch it. Yuan payments settled inside China through the cross-border interbank payment system also do not touch it. The sanctions architecture built over 4 decades, assumes the target will remain dependent on dollar clearing. Iran has built a system that does not need it, and here is the part that Washington has not yet reckoned with. The scheme is not just working, it is becoming a template. Chinese refiners are paying, Indian refiners are paying, Turkish intermediaries are paying. Reports suggest that even some European traders operating through offshore subsidiaries have paid. The buyers have done the math. The toll is $1 per barrel. Going to war with Iran is not $1 per barrel. Paying the fee is a cost of doing business. Refusing to pay means no oil at all, because Iran now controls the flow through the strait, not just the exports from its own terminals. The American response has been limited, and the limits reveal the problem. The Office of Foreign Assets Control has issued new designations against Iranian vessels. It has identified wallet addresses linked to IRGC-controlled exchanges. It has pressured crypto exchanges to delist tokens connected to Iran. Every one of these actions is a chase. By the time a wallet is sanctioned, the funds have moved. By the time an exchange delists, a new one has been spun up in a jurisdiction that does not cooperate with American regulators. The scheme is distributed by design, which is what makes it resilient. Pressure in one place does not eliminate the others. You may recognize the pattern. It is the same architecture Iran uses for its missile program, its proxy networks, and its nuclear facilities. Decentralization as a strategic posture. There is one more detail that deserves attention. The payments are flowing through an entity that the United States specifically designates as a terrorist organization. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is not a normal state actor. Its Quds Force was designated a foreign terrorist organization by the United States in 2019. Under United States law, any entity that knowingly conducts financial transactions with a designated terrorist organization faces secondary sanctions. In theory, a Chinese refiner paying a wallet managed by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps should face the same penalty as a refiner paying Hezbollah. In practice, the United States government has done nothing about it because the alternative would be secondary sanctions against the largest oil importer on the planet, and Washington is not willing to start that fight. So here is what the post-ceasefire map actually shows. Kharg Island is still standing. Iran's oil is still flowing. The toll system is generating roughly $11 billion a year in new revenue. The payment rails are outside the reach of American enforcement. The buyers have priced it in, and the precedent is now established. The next sanctioned state, whether that is Venezuela, Russia, or someone else, now has a proven template, not a workaround, a replacement architecture. The American strikes on Kharg Island hit dozens of targets. Not one of them hit the system that actually matters. I have been your host. This was GEOLENSIAN. We follow the money behind global power shifts. If you want the next video in this series, subscribe and ring the bell. Thank you for your time.